So let's play this clip, Smith, because JJ Redick today was responding. Stephen A. Smith said that Kawhi Leonard should retire for being injured all the time. I feel that way about Anthony Davis, but what do I know? I'm biased. I want the Lakers to win, and I'm tired of him being on the floor and being hurt all the time. But I'm not in his body. So God bless the man for even being out there in pain. But Kawhi Leonard was out with the LA Clippers, and Stephen A. said he should retire. Here's what JJ Redick said today.
There's a lot to unpack there. I mean this in the nicest way possible to both of you, but listening to each of you right now, it's very obvious that you've played zero high-level basketball, and you do not understand the requirements of doing that. And I do mean that in a nice way.
Okay.
I'll
respond in a second.
No, hold on. You bring up Zion.
Yes.
I talked about this when we talked about Zion. You brought up Zion. Trying to play coming off a hamstring injury, a serious hamstring injury. I've had to deal with it multiple times in my career. I popped it grade 3 when I was in college. There's a weeks-long mental hurdle to come back and play, to be able to just do a simple closeout. A sprained ankle is very different than a sprained knee. A sprained knee for someone who has torn a quad tendon and who has torn their ACL is very different than someone playing on a hobbled ankle in the 1970s. It's a terrible analogy. I'm sorry, it's a terrible analogy. I want to tell a quick story real quick. Because I think you bring up the medical staff, all this stuff. When I played for Philly, when we would have off days, everybody knows I lived in Brooklyn when I played for Philly. I commuted back and forth for games and practices. But if we had an off day, I'd go up to Midtown to the NBPA, and I'd work out there with my New York trainer. A basketball guy would meet me, a weight guy would meet me, we work on my body, whatever. So there was a week where Kawhi was away from the team. It was coming out of All-Star break. He was away from the Spurs, and I was up there working out. He was there. When I say this dude was so meticulous in his work trying to come back from that quad tendon, I remember, I'll never forget it. I used to walking lunges with like 50, 55-pound dumbbells in each hand. This dude is doing slow walking lunges with 90-pound dumbbells in his hands with the wrap around his quad, which limits your blood flow. This guy gets after it. I understand the frustration with the load management issue. What we're talking about here and questioning his injury, and you say, I'm not questioning his injury. You just said we saw Paul George get hurt. We didn't see Kawhi get hurt. Let's give the guy some credit. He did it in game 1. He went out there and battled game 2. Guess what? If he could play, he would play. I want to get clarification on this worst superstar. Do you not have any empathy for someone who has came back from 2 major leg injuries?
Okay.
Do you not?
I do.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to answer your questions. I'm just waiting for you to finish.
Okay.
Okay.
So it goes on. We're gonna Smith, take it down. So we're gonna play that. I play this because 2 reasons. First of all, a lot of people have a lot to say about something they've never done, about what people should be doing, what they think based on nothing, no insight. Whether we're talking about, when I talk about media, it's because I've been doing media. I'm not armchairing this. If you hear me talk about writing, it's because I've written 30 books. I'm not armchairing this. If I'm talking about anything on these airways out of my mouth, it's usually based on some experience, or I will get an expert on to talk about it because I'm not equipped. And I'll say, this is not my area. Let me bring on an expert. But I feel we're in this space right now where everybody gets to have an opinion when they've not done the work to even deserve to have an opinion. And then we consume it and then share it as if it's valid. It's not valid. And I love that JJ Redick, it was a lot of shade in the beginning, but he's absolutely right until you have walked a mile in those shoes. But those of us who are fans of things, whether we're fans of media, fans of sports, whatever, we feel like we have the right to denigrate folk for doing things you can't do. And if it was that easy, why your ass ain't out there doing it? Somebody had the audacity to come on Twitter talking about you should replace Karen Hunter, Joe Madison because they should be more progressive and I have the money. Well, go do it. Start your own channel. See how easy it is to manage people and 3 hours live commercials. Like everybody thinks stuff is easy until they sit in a seat. So I say all this to say it's not about him cooking and everyone's going to focus on the cooking. When I talked about even Don Lemon, it was because I have disrespect for people who sit in positions where we expect to get a certain thing because they're sitting there. So it's news, but it's not, they're not journalists. So yeah, I have a problem as a person who was a journalist for 16 years. I know what that's supposed to look like. On these airways, I'm not. These are my opinions, but they're based on 16 years of journalism, 20 years of media, all radio, 20 years. Like, I'm not just talking. So I feel like we should hold people to a higher standard. And if they don't come with that, we're about to bring in Dr. Robin. You're an Instagram therapist. If you don't get the hell out of my face giving advice about people's mental health and you ain't gone to school, you haven't done the work, and y'all listening to people because they sound good and they know how to give a clap back, let's raise the bar for ourselves on what we demand from people. But you first got to know where the bar is. So I appreciate, yes, JJ Redick has every right to say what he had to say as somebody that's been through it. And if you haven't, sew your lips up. Now, I know you can't because this is how you get paid, right? But we should also question, are we contributing to this? What's our responsibility, for allowing for the misinformation and just the mediocrity. That's what I'm going to call it. Shouldn't we want better?